Hello, 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 hello. Wow, welcome everyone. Here we are, week 10. Can you believe it? This is the 10th week of Hathor hosts. I'm so delighted to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. And I am super, super, super excited for my guest this evening, the incomparable Claudia Christian. She is an author, an actress, an advocate. She's funny. She can do serious acting. She is absolutely phenomenal. Hopefully, because she's never done a live before, so she is a live virgin. I'm really hoping that she's going to jump on soon. Claudia, if you're here, type in the bottom I'm here because I haven't seen you jump on yet. Hi everyone, sorry that I'm not responding, but I'm seeing you all and feeling the love. Lovely to see so many people in the room, as it were. I am going to see if I can maybe get to her. Let's see if this will work, if I add her. And hopefully, yeah, there she is, right. I'm connecting to you now, so we should... Yay! It's worked.
Wow. Okay.
Hello, gorgeous.
I did it. Let me fix my thing here. I'm a little high.
Lovely. Fix your thing.
Okay.
It's always important to fix your thing.
There we go.
And how wonderful to have you on Hathor Host. Welcome.
Whew, I couldn't find I kept pressing the live button and I couldn't figure out how to, anyway, I'm here.
Exactly.
I'm here and it's so good to see you, Suanne. It's been ages. Can you hear me okay? I've got these little
I can hear you
earpods
perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yes. Houston,
Woo!
we have
we have liftoff.
We have liftoff, baby. You and me, kiddo. Blowhard and Dottie KY back together again.
Exactly, together again. Well, I am truly so delighted and so honored to have you here with us this evening and your afternoon, of course. So yes. I am just going to jump straight on in.
You do it, girl.
We've got quite a lot to cover. And I'm going to ask, when you first knew that the acting bug hit you, like what was your first memory of, I want to be an actress?
I was cast as Chief Massasoit in a Thanksgiving play when I was about 5 or 6 years old because I had really long braids. Yeah. So I got to play the Native American chief.
Yeah, that's not un-PC at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
I mean,
nowadays, well, at least they didn't say Indians or anything. Yeah. No, I mean, no, it was terribly un-PC, but that was 1970. So, yeah, you can excuse a lot back in that era. And I just, it was the only time in my life that I actually had the attention of people because I had 3 older brothers. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was always just hiding and quiet. So this was, it was exciting to be able to have, you know, people listening and people be laughing and clapping. And it just, as a little girl, it just sort of said, wow, I'm communicating with people. And I was very shy. So for me, that was a way to communicate without, you know, through a mask, through a character without having to subject myself to being, you know, going, hello, I'm Claudia. Instead, I could say, I'm the chief, you know. And then I ended up doing lots of theater as a kid. And I found a great home with those actors and actresses when I was young and the music directors. And it was just being in an ensemble and musicals and singing and dancing. And it was great discipline. It was great fun. And I carried that over because at that point, I just thought, you know, I think I want to be on television. Yeah. So when we moved to California, I saw that as a sign and moved out of my house at 16 and up to LA.
Amazing. I mean, God, that's so gutsy. You know, I mean, not many people would have the cojones to do that. So huge respect to you.
Thank you. I think when you're naive, you know, ignorance is bliss. I just thought, well, my dad got transferred to California. It's a sign from God. You know, I mean, I was really that naive. And I think that actually looked like confidence to people in LA. It was just blind ignorance, but I think it read as confidence. So I managed to get a manager and book a job, and lo and behold.
Here's a little tidbit that when I was reading your book, you and I had the same manager in LA, which I never knew, Joan Green.
Oh my God.
How
Are you
bizarre
serious?
is that? That's
You
a
were
whole
with
other
Joan too?
conversation for another
Did she
day.
weigh you too every time you went in?
Yes. So I used to stop going in.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I can't come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so you get a manager, you get an agent, you start working, and your first kind of big break is in the hit show Dallas. Do you
Yeah.
remember who you played?
I was one of Christopher Atkins' high school or college buddies. I think I was 18 at the time, playing maybe slightly older. He was the character that was dating Linda Gray, and she was older than he was, and it was quite the scandal. So I was one of his friends, and I was just this sort of snarky girl making fun of the age difference, which of course now I'm desperately ashamed of. No, it was really. I had done all these pre-interviews and met casting directors. Back in the old days, you did what's called general auditions, and the second I turned 18, because I was so tall and I looked so mature, that the second I turned 18, my manager Joan called them up and said, "Okay, she's 18. Let's put her on a show." And Irene Mariano, bless her heart, at Lorimar, said, "Great, we've got a 5 and under on Dallas." And I didn't even have to read for it. I don't think that was the old days, when things were much different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fantastic to be. And Larry Hagman was directing the episode. I mean, I was I was plopped down in the middle of heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those shows, no matter what your age, it's still such an iconic show. Somebody the other day who is much younger than I am, they were talking about TV theme tunes, and immediately they were like, da-da, da-da, da-da. Was that song?
Yeah, well, their parents probably watched it.
And shortly thereafter, you landed your kind of first series regular in, unfortunately, a not very long running series called Berengers.
Yeah.
How did that feel, kind of going from being a kind of guest starring role or day player to suddenly having the responsibility and the kind of airtime, if you like, screen time of a series reg?
Well, the trajectory was so classically perfect. I mean, literally went from 5 and under to guest lead, series regular. I mean, I did all of the Canal shows, A-Team, Riptide. I did all of the Falcon Crest was after Dallas, so I did that. And pretty soon I'm a guest star, not a co-star. I went from 5 lines and under to guest star to then. Back in those days, also, I keep sounding like an old fart, but back in the day,
yes, I remember it well, darling.
I remember it well. When the colour lilies are in bloom. So back in the 80s, if you were liked by a network, you were really liked by them. So I became what's called an NBC girl. So the NBC Lorimar just I was on the list, and they were like, "Okay, we need a brunette. Well, let's bring in Claudia," because I was already approved by the network. So Berengers came around, and funny enough, I'm still at this point 18 years old, and the character's 30. Right. And I'm supposed to be sharing a lover with my mother. And the great Anita Morris from 9 on Broadway was my mom. And Jeff Conaway, who I ended up doing Babylon 5 with, Jeff Conaway played our lover.
Right. And I was Kaniki in Greece was his big.
Yes,
Kaniki. Everyone else will probably know him from.
And Taxi. He was in the TV series Taxi. Yeah. So he played our lover, and I was married in the series. And I just remember going to network and thinking, and thank God my mother was a marvelous dresser. She still is. And so she said, "Well, you're playing as she said, a rich bitch, so you better dress the part." And so she put me in I'm 18. She put me in a Judith Lieber belt and a Chanel suit and heels, and she dressed me. And I'm telling you, I honestly believe that was 40% of the reason why I got the role, because the rest of the girls were dressed California, casual, and it just didn't fit the role. It was a New York socialite, and I looked the part. So that just goes to show you, don't ever presume people have an imagination. Go in as the role. No, it was wonderful, and the whole experience of being an ensemble cast. We lasted 13 episodes, which doesn't sound like a lot nowadays.
No,
I mean, back then, but nowadays it's a full season. Yeah. But back then you were usually ordered for 13, and then you'd be ordered for the 22, of course, a year. But nowadays a regular season is six episodes on some shows. And it was great. We had amazing people. Cesar Romero, Ben Murphy, Yvette Mimieux was in it. I mean, we had Yeah, Jack Scalia. I mean, we had hunks and icons, and it was just really, it was a great experience. And I wish it
Yeah.
would have, yeah.
And I bet an amazing kind of ground for you to cut your teeth, so to speak, and really learn what you already were learning, kind of on doing lots of guest starring roles, but to really kind of cement that.
Yeah, I got my sort of tools from being on set so often, and from working with consummate professionals who had been in the industry for as long as I've been in now. But I mean, mind you, this was, I was a kid, I was a teenager still.
Crazy.
So it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I did a couple of NBC series. I did another one called Black's Magic with Hal Lind and Henry Morgan from MASH.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, two extraordinary actors, and that lasted 13 episodes. But just these experiences definitely made me feel like, wow, now I'm a real actress. I'm on TV, and I was really working. I was working all the time. So it was great.
Well, I was going to say, looking over at your credits, I mean, you are, my God, the absolute epitome and definitive working actress. You have been working solidly in the business since 1983, pretty much full time. Which is like quite an extraordinary feat anyway, but for a woman in Hollywood, it's kind of miraculous. So
it's challenging. Respect. Well, thank you. Well, you too, dear. I mean, we both have survived, and you've survived in 3 different countries doing it. So so that's very impressive. I didn't work a lot in England. I mean, I when I was living there for almost a decade, I think I did a bunch of as I call them, the crappy action flicks shot in countries that begin with a B. So it was like Bulgaria, I did, or cities, Berlin, I went to, Berlin's not crappy, but the film I did there was crappy. So it was all a bunch of action flicks, and of course Star Hike, which I did with you. But I mean, there's we'll get to that.
So there you are, you're working steadily, and in the early 90s comes along a job that completely changes your fortune, the face of your life, and that is a show called Babylon 5.
Yeah.
And you play the incredible commander, she's later Commander Susan Ivanova, which took me ages to say.
Yes, it's Ivanova is the Russian way of saying it. Ivanova is Russian, but yes.
I love it. And so tell us a little bit how that audition process happened and how the role came to you.
It was actually incredibly easy. I hate to say it, but I went in at noon or like 11 in the morning. I read for the casting director and 2 of the producers, and they said, they immediately said to me, can you come back at 2:00 and to a different venue and read with the actor? Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, same scenes. Don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. So I came back at 2:00. I read with Jerry Doyle. Our chemistry was amazing. And next thing you know, by 5 p.m., I had the job. And I never forget my agent saying to me, I said, boy, I just did Clean and Sober for, a big feature film with Michael Keaton and Morgan Freeman. And I said, geez, I just did, The Hidden, which was a success for New Line Cinema at the time. And I thought, do I really want to commit to a 5-year TV series? And my agent said, oh, honey, it's not a Star Trek spinoff. It'll never last. Just take it. You'll do 1 season and you'll just, and it'll be terrific. And I was the famous last words.
Yeah, really.
So nobody watches sci-fi is what she said. And at the time, well, the funny thing is, at the time in America, she was absolutely dead on. Nobody watched it, and we were constantly interrupted by basketball and everything. So it was very difficult to even see Babylon 5. But yeah, it changed my life in the sense that, and I've said this a million times before, but genre fans are the most loyal and incredible fans in the world, and they support you in just about any endeavor you want to try, any creative output. And it changed my life because it took me around the world for conventions. I met some of my dearest friends who were fans or convention organizers, who are now my dear friends. It introduced me to a whole population of people I never would have met because I wasn't a genre fan, and I don't read that or watch that type of stuff. So Babylon 5 introduced me to these extraordinary people that for 25 plus years have been in my life, and it took me to Australia and New Zealand. It took me all over the world. I mean, it's really, and still to this day, if I come out with say Snack Hacks, they'll buy it and they'll support me, and then they'll encourage me to make a cooking show.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm now going to start doing cooking classes, and it's you know, it's all that stuff. It's opened up a whole world to me. Whereas I think that if I was in any other type of show, like a soap opera or something, I don't think it would have had the same effect on me, the same profound effect. You know, everything I've done, I've found very little hate or bullying from that group of people. I've found support and love.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in fact, the whole reason why this show happened is because I have been given absolute unbelievable love and support from this community. And when we all went into lockdown, I was like, what can I do? I need to be creatively stimulated. And I suddenly thought, I love to talk. And there are no conventions this year. So, hey, I know I could chat to my friends. And again, people have supported this so much. And I'm so grateful.
Well, it's such a wonderful thing to do, and you know, we are communicators as actresses, and as performers, we you know, I start to miss being on a set or miss communicating with people, and so this is marvelous. Congratulations to you for doing this. Seriously,
it's marvelous because of guests like you. So
no, stop.
Stop more. So getting back to Babylon 5, B5, it was actually remarkably groundbreaking at the time because I had not watched it. And in looking up all your work and your body of work, and I read your book, and I like to spend a lot of time with my subjects.
I was impressed by that.
And I watched quite a lot of it. And what really struck me is that it was actually massively groundbreaking for several reasons. But one of the ones that I know, and I don't know how common, if this is common knowledge or not, but that it was written as a sort of sci-fi novel with a beginning and a middle and an end. And today, that is quite a common format. So Game of Thrones did that, but it was not common then, and quite a risk, I think, for the writers and the creator to do that.
Absolutely. Most episodes in episodic television had a standalone episode, so that when you went into after 5 years, when you sold it into syndication, you could just show any random episode of Matlock and people were happy. You know, one episode that he tied up the mystery and that was it. You couldn't do that with a space opera that had a beginning, middle, and an end, a story that did. So that was very unique at the time. And of course, we were the first show to use computer graphics instead of models.
Exactly. So. And also, I think the first show to feature a same-sex relationship, certainly the first sci-fi show, because your character had a bisexual relationship and a relationship with Talia. So how did
the very interesting part of that
at the time? Sorry.
Well, the interesting part of that is that Joe pitched Babylon 5 to Paramount, and they ended up stealing the idea and making Deep Space Nine. And then at some point, Terry Farrell had a sort of interspecies relationship with a female alien, I think it was, and had shared a kiss. Joe we'd already shot our episode. My relationship with Talia came about for a couple of reasons. They brought an ex-boyfriend character on the show, and I said to Joe, I said, I can't buy that she had all these other relationships because she's the youngest lieutenant commander in history. So clearly her job was everything, and you can't have me banging guys through the universe and them showing up every week. I said, that's not going to fly with me.
Right.
And as a joke, I said, just give me an alien or a woman lover. And then next thing you know, I'm gay. So, which was great. No, I loved it because the way he formulated that relationship between a telepath and a woman who had mild telepathic abilities, but whose mother was killed by the Sinclaire. And whose whole family was destroyed by the Sinclaire, and she falls in love with this Sinclaire person. They start out, butting heads, but the relationship was done so subtly. They never showed us making out or sexual. You just saw her wake up in my bed, and I'm not in the bed. I'm in a different part of my apartment, and there's just a hand on the shoulder, but the subtext that this is a very unique, complicated love affair.
Yeah.
But it was never mentioned as a same-sex one. It was just presumed that Ivanova is bisexual, and that's normal in the future, and that nobody has to make a stink about it, and nobody has to label. Yeah, they don't have to label themselves as gender fluid or bisexual. They just are. They are who they are, and it doesn't matter what they're labeled. There is no need for labels at that point. And the same thing with substance misuse. I noticed. I mean, we had characters that were struggling with addiction, and this is before I ever fell into addiction. So for me, it was really groundbreaking, because usually there's the same, there was always the same thing in every TV show. You go to an AA meeting, or it's really causing people hell. They didn't go into the dynamic of the personal suffering of addiction, but Joe did. He also got into racism. He got into, religion. I was the first Jewish character to light a menorah and sit Shiva on television in science fiction. You had Jewish characters in science fiction, but they weren't religious Jewish characters, and I found so many things amazing. Over the years, people have said, as a Jewish gay woman, I identified with your character. That touches me so deeply, because but that's not me. That's Joe Straczynski. That's writing. That's the writing. But he made the characters real, and he made them flawed. He made them fallible. He made them sensitive. They weren't perfect. They weren't heroes. They were really, really struggling to make their way through this thing called life. But I just dug the fact that we didn't have to call ourselves labels. That was great.
And I think that's probably why it's held up so well and still holds up today, all these years later. Now, so you were on the show for 4 years, and then unfortunately you didn't end up doing the final season, much to the horror and outcry, justifiably so, of all your legion of fans. So what happened there?
That old story. I'll tell the old chestnut one more time. Okay, we were told that we ran out of money. We couldn't do a 5th season. So we crammed everything into season 4, shot the last episode, say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye, cried the whole bit. The series was over. I went off and I accepted the lead in a movie of the week, which I had never done the lead in the movie of the week. And it was fabulous money. And it was like I was the star of this. And it was a big CBS, wow, whatever. Maybe it wasn't network, whatever it was. Anyway, so I accepted that job. I signed the contract, and suddenly over our, when we're done with Babylon 5, we've shot the last episode. We're old age makeup, the whole bit. Said goodbye to our friends. They gave us a call and said, we found money with TNT for the 5th season. And and I had also had some personal reasons not to return to that set. This is, just personal reasons of stuff that I didn't want to have to go back and address. But the reality was I would have gone back had I been able to been offered a contract that would have said, okay, you're in 13 episodes. The problem is that TNT wanted the leads to commit to all 22 episodes. And because of the schedule of the movie of the week, I couldn't. I couldn't legally sign a contract saying I'm going to do 22 episodes, because the timing was exactly when I was supposed to be shooting the movie of the week. So the movie of the week people, there's no way they would have allowed me to work. They can't insure me if I'm supposed to be 2 places at once.
Sure.
So because I had already signed that contract, and because Joe said to me, he said, look, just trust me that I'm going to write you out of those episodes. I said, my agent said, that's not the way it works, buddy. We can't trust you. You legally own her for that time if she signs that contract. And then we're in contractual conflict with these other individuals, and we'll be sued. So make a long story short, between the personal reasons not to go back and between the contractual issues not to go back, and also, frankly, the story was told in my mind. The party was over. We had jammed all the information into season 4, and I thought, where are you going to go from there? Yeah. Seriously, where are you going to go from there? Are we going to just come back and go, oh, now we've got to cobble together some 5th season because we have money? So I'm not judging because I never saw the 5th season, but I'm just saying, for me, the job was done. I had said goodbye. It was finished, and I had 4 beautiful seasons playing an amazing character with incredible people, and I just felt like, at that point I had already psychologically moved on and physically moved on, and so I moved on. Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you for telling us that. You're welcome. And also, ultimately, you got to do a movie, and your character arc was completed. And as you said, you felt you were kind of done anyway. I did 2 movies. I did two movies of the week. Yeah. Yeah. And, and also how extraordinary that this character is still giving back to you so much all these years later. So, win-win. Now, something that a lot of people don't expect from you, and I know it because I've had the luxury of working with you,
And that is that you are very funny. Funny ha-ha, not funny strange. You're an
A little of both.
Although, no, there was that time with the goose.
Yes.
We don't
Pray
talk
tell.
about that.
No.
But I think that's so fantastic because it's so unexpected when you look like you do. You know, you're a bona fide Playboy centerfold, drop dead gorgeous 5'9" supermodel who can act.
Yeah, right.
And then you're funny. It's so kind of disarming. And, you know, where does this wonderful self-deprecation and sense of humor come from, do you think?
You know, I think maybe it was a defense thing of being shy, is that I was always, you know, my family has a great sense of humor. We have a similar sense of humor. My both of my parents, my brothers, everybody has a really great sense of humor, and we always, the way we bonded was from Monty Python and stand-up comedians, the old records we would listen to. But I think more so it's just a quickness, just it's a fastness, and I enjoy people with a great sense of humor. I don't think I could date somebody that wasn't funny, and I don't think I could. You know, it's hard to be friends with people who don't get it. You know, it's just turning situations. It's just fun. I've always loved to laugh, and I've always loved the intelligent humor, like you have. You know, we cut up on set, but still professional. But let's make. I mean, life is. You don't have to be serious all the time.
Right,
I mean,
especially
sometimes.
at the moment.
yeah, exactly. And you know, if I have a default, it's always humor. I always find the humor in everything. It's just the way I'm built. Unfortunately, not many directors saw that when I was moving my way up in the industry, and so I've done very few comedies, and that's always been something that bothered me, because that really is it's actually the thing I'm sort of best at. I mean, I feel comfortable doing drama, but I really feel comfortable doing comedy. So
I sort of think, again, you know, being a woman in Hollywood who is beautiful, it's really difficult. I always remember Michelle Pfeiffer talking about how hard she had to fight to get the role in Scarface, because nobody thought she could act, because they just kind of went, oh, well, beautiful blonde, that's it. She's arm candy, decorate. And I think it's the same for women who are beautiful, but also funny.
Funny, yeah.
It's unexpected. And that people aren't really sure what to do with that. They're a bit like, oh, well, hang on. However, you did get to flex your comedic muscles to great effect in Freaks and Geeks, the Judd Apatow project. How did that come your way?
That was a lot of fun. I once again went in and I auditioned with Martin Starr, who ended up playing my son, and we had wonderful chemistry. We just really worked well off each other. And Judd Apatow actually gave me the best compliment of my entire life and my entire career. He said, "You remind me of Jenna Rollins."
Oh.
Okay, I can die now.
I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God, we love her.
I'm done. No, really. No, I seriously, I actually I said, I'm sorry. Did you say Gina Davis? No, what? No, Jenna Rollins? No, it was like, yeah. So, no, it was a beautiful experience. Martin Starr was, and is, just such a sweet human being. The actor who played my coach boyfriend, I'm spacing out on his name right now. I can't believe it.
Somebody tell us. I'm sure someone will know it.
Oh my God. He was amazing. Everybody was amazing. It was lovely. It was really lovely. And years and years later, we did a layout for Vanity Fair for the comedy edition, comedy issue. So kind of ran into people before, and it was nice.
Yeah, great thing to have been a part of, because, you know, he is now kind of like Mr. Funny. He's a bit of an institution now.
Yeah, where the hell is he now?
Yeah,
you know, where is he now, Judd? I mean, I should just I just should inundate him with direct tweets and just say, you know, I'm free.
She's funny. We know.
I'm available.
Exactly. Now, travel is something that comes up quite a lot in your life as well. You and I both love to travel. I love it when I get a job and I'm like, now, where am I going? Ooh, how exciting, a place I haven't been. And obviously, London is where we met, where we got to work on Star Hike. So how did Star Hike come to you, and How did you end up in London?
I was so burnt out on Hollywood. I was about to turn 40, and I just felt like I was being told no way too often. I felt that the ageism was creeping in, but I also had really shitty representation at the time, and I was not in a good place at the time. It was really the beginning of I was in the midst of my illness, and I just I wanted out. I was done. I'd been in LA since I was 16. I was clearly drinking too much, and I was wavering between being sober and binging, and everything was coming to a head. I was bored. I was stagnant, and clearly I was also sick. So when Andrew Diamond, I was talking to him one day, and I just expressed. He said, "How are things?" And I told him, I said, I'm just in a rut. I feel like I'm in a rut. And he said, "Well, if you're really bored, do you want to come over and star in this series that I wrote?" And I said, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, I'm in.
Where are you shooting it? And he said, "Bristol." I said, "That's close enough to London. There's trains. That's great."
Yeah.
I've always been an Anglophile, and I've always been obsessed with London, and I've always wanted to live in London. And so I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to really live in England for a while. So I rented out my house, and I came over, and we shot Star Hike, and I got a little apartment in London. So I immediately, once again, I signed with a manager, first manager I met, who was amazing, Roxanne Vaca.
Yeah, she's
and I just signed with her right off the bat, and I started taking meetings, and I had a little place. I had a room in a friend's apartment, and it was an amazing experience. It was really, I lived in a little town called Winterbourne Down when we did Star Hike, and I had my own little car, and I would drive to the set, and it was just, everything was new and fabulous, and it really gave me a rebirth, I have to say.
Absolutely.
It really, my dream came true, because I had always wanted to live in England, so it worked out beautifully.
And you met me.
I met you. And
I was the Spock to your Kirk.
You were the Spock to my Kirk, and I became very good friends with Nicola Bryant from Doctor Who. So I've got and Linda Thorson from the Avengers.
Yeah.
I met some cool and Jeremy. Come on, Jeremy and Simon Lewis. All these Jonathan Brown and Andrew Dunn. All these people became really close friends. So we had some laughs. You have to remember the mystery meat 1 pound lunches we would have,
Absolutely. And
we said,
I remember I was thinking again, this weekend, I was like, what are my distinct memories of Star Hike? And I think definitely lots of laughing. The set looked amazing. I remember just that first time we went onto the set, and we were like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then just a lot of craziness in this hotel, and everybody trying to make this. It was like guerrilla filmmaking, everybody trying to make it.
Do you remember Benny Hill in Space is right. And do you remember I ended up directing some acting episodes,
I do.
And I remember Simon and Fiona, but then there was what was it? Rachel Grant, who was this skinny and totally fit, and she would eat these. We had these lunches that literally we called them the pound lunches, because they cost a pound. That's what they paid for our lunches, were 1 pound per person.
Yeah.
And they were just massive amounts of meat, and she would sit. The skinny little thing would sit there with these massive plates of sausages and mash. It was like, where am I?
What?
The sets actually looked better than Babylon 5 sets, and the costumes were beautiful.
Yeah, fantastic.
So,
And still hold up.
I think it was just the storyline that needed a little work.
Yes. Well, aside from, look, I think it's like Marmite. People either love it or they hate it. I have people coming up to me in conventions. Some people go, I absolutely got it. I thought it was really funny. I wanted a second season. Other people are like, what was that?
Let me tell you something. It's streaming on Amazon and a whole bunch of other places, so you're getting a whole new legion of fans. We will never live this one down, honey.
But I'll tell you what, I also really so grateful to Andrew Diamond, because I like you, I was like, I'm funny. No one ever lets me be funny. They're a bit more so now. But certainly at the beginning of my career, everyone was like, no, long red hair. No, you've got to be this. You've got to be the damsel in distress. And they were so great in letting us kind of like workshop stuff and be funny. And I mean, some of those outtakes that I look at now, but that is us like finding our way and kind of improvising the lines.
Oh yeah. Oh, one of my favorite sex scenes in my entire career was on Star Trek.
I won't ask why.
Fun. No, just because we made it funny.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Yeah.
So you spent a fair amount of time here in London. You did a couple of other shows. You did the Edinburgh Festival, and then the lovely sunshine and Los Angeles was calling you back. So you headed back, and I want to talk a little bit about your voiceover career for a minute, or voice acting career, because you are like super, super in demand as a voice actor. You work all the time, and you've done some big games. Skyrim, Call of Duty, Halo, what was the my notes.
Fallout 4,
Guild Wars, that's the one.
Guild Wars 2.
Yeah,
you name it, I've been in it. Boy, yeah, I've done a lot of games, which I love. I love doing voice work.
So how did you break into that arena? Because voice acting is very different to voiceovers, which I do quite a bit of, but it's a very different ball game doing a computer game or an animation.
I do all. I do voice match, voiceover. I do everything having to do with voice. When I was in my 20s, my agent at the time, who had me theatrically, said, you've got a great voice. So do you want to join our commercial department and our voiceover department? And I said, yeah, of course. Commercials, I rarely booked because I'm not a commercially type of hey kind of actress, and I never could play the mom or anything because I'm a goofball. But the voiceover stuff was fantastic, and I had always done different accents and voices and weird characters, and so I was able to voice match people. So I ended up doing Jennifer Saunders in Shrek. I ended up doing actresses I could mimic their voice, and that was a lot of fun. It was a challenge and fun for me.
Yeah.
So I started doing voiceovers. I got some campaigns, and then because of my sci-fi cred, I started booking games because some of these game producers, it's pretty cool to have your favorite sci-fi stars starring in your game. And that's the other reason why I got the Disney film, is they were Babylon 5 fans and they were Ivanova fans. So that's why I was in what was it? Atlantis. Helga Sinclair. Yes, yes, that's why I was in Atlantis. So, I have a deep love of voiceover acting because I do like being alone in the room. Not that I don't love other actors, but it's just an opportunity to work quickly and to pick up lines really quickly. I love the pace of it. Yeah. I love being challenged to come up with 3 different takes for each line, 3 different intentions, 3 totally different ways. And I love it when a director moves quickly. I find it very stimulating, and I'm able to, I'm very fast. Most people book 4 or 5 hours, and I can usually do it in 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
I'm really fast. I like to think, and I'm not being conceited, I'm being honest, I'm really good at it. It's something that just falls into my ability. My wheelhouse of talents is that I can pick up a line without ever reading a script. I'm very good at cold reading. Yeah. And so that's kind of what games are, because I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't get the script ahead of time.
It's all coded and secret names, and you're like,
oh my God, yeah. I've been doing this game called Bacon, and I was like, they called it Bacon, and I was like, yeah, I'm in a new game called Bacon. And finally they went, no, that's actually World of Warcraft. And I was like, oh.
Right. Like, oh, that's a little different.
yeah, sorry. Or Halo or one of those. I don't know. Yeah. It was something else, but their code name was, and that happened to me on Call of Duty, actually. The code name was like Snow Leopard, and I went in there and, no, not Call of Duty. It was that other one, the Grand Theft Auto. Right. So I at the time I was doing the Disney film, and I was, and so I get this game called Snow Leopard or something, and I think I'm playing a dragon, and I go in there, and I'm playing a prostitute, and I've got a really bad potty mouth, and I said, geez, I'm doing a Disney film, and I've got this whole other avenue that I'm going in my life. I said, so can you take my name off of the film, off of the game? And so they did. So I'm not,
You're not credited.
I'm not credited. No, I'm not credited because I just didn't want to be associated at that time in my life with that.
Yeah. And
violence and prostitution. Yeah.
Exactly. From Disney to prostitution in one
Now,
one
if you ask me to do violence and prostitution, I'll do it in a heartbeat. I'll play
there
anything.
We go. There you go.
You want me to play a violent prostitute? Fine. Where do I sign?
So working for the Mighty Mouse and for the Disney company was a fantastic experience. Helga was loved.
I had a really wonderful time doing it, and once again, just like you say, they allowed me to go crazy. It's like, do it sexier, do it like Kathleen Turner, do it ho ho ho, and I'm like doing it, and they're laughing, and we're having a good time, and I'm standing on the iconic set where they did Snow White, for gosh sakes, in the recording booth where they did Snow White, and I'd pass in the hallway with Demi Moore, who was doing the Hunchback, and I'm like, wow, I've made it, Disney, So, it was.
With that, did you do the voice match to an animation, or do you do the voice cold and then they do the animation afterwards?
They animate the character to your movements, which was my crazy eyebrows that always go up and they're got a very, very specific shape. Helga has my eyebrows. She has my widow's peak.
Amazing.
She has my movements because as I'm doing it, they're filming you as you do the recording, and then the animators look at it and they pick up your movements. It's really cute. Yeah, it's really sweet.
That's such a great thing to have, a Disney film. A friend of mine is the voice for Elsa in Norway. She's the official Norwegian Elsa, which has been really
that's cool. Well, I was a Happy Meal character.
Were you?
It doesn't get.
I was going to say, you made it when you're a Happy Meal character.
I've got a home studio to do voiceovers, and I actually have all of my dolls of all my characters, and I just, when I'm feeling low, I go in there and I go, look at you, this is all, I'm a doll, I'm a 6-incher, a 3-incher, and a 12-incher, so screw you, Hollywood.
The conversation right now, we're talking about dolls, nothing else.
Yeah, we're not talking about something else there, not sex toys, no.
So speaking about being low, you have been unflinchingly honest, and I really, really, really respect your guts and your honesty about coming forward about your issues and your problems that you had with alcohol misuse.
Thank you.
Can you talk to us a little bit about when you first discovered or when you first realized that it was a problem and that it was time to do something about it?
Absolutely. I remember the exact moment. A boyfriend of mine said to me, my boyfriend at the time said, I've never seen a woman drink so quickly. You can drink a mimosa in 2 sips. And I thought to myself, yeah, I do gulp alcohol. And he just said, I'm just kind of concerned because you drink quickly and you drink a lot. And at that point, I was like, you know what, you're right. And there's a lot of bottles in the recycling bin every week, and I'm just going to stop. I'm going to prove to everybody that I don't have an issue, so I'm going to stop. And what I didn't know then is that when you stop alcohol altogether, you cause what's referred to as the alcohol deprivation effect. And that's why when people relapse, they end up drinking more and harder, and sometimes they die because they've been sober and your brain is craving alcohol. So if you have the genetic predisposition, which I did, I have alcoholism on both sides of my family. So when you have that predisposition and you engage in the behavior, which for me was drinking, every single drinking session is now making my neural pathways stronger and stronger and stronger. So when I stopped drinking, my brain is screaming for alcohol. Before, I was feeding it regularly. So I didn't need to binge or anything. I was just drinking consistently. I wasn't drinking all day, but I was drinking 5-6 nights a week.
Yeah.
So when I stopped, I lasted like 3 months, 4 months, and then I was just mentally obsessed and physically craving alcohol. Everything I looked at was like, oh, I can't have a drink. Oh, I can't have a drink. I can't have a drink. And it dictated my social life, everything. And I was very resentful and I was very angry. And then, of course, I gave into it because my brain said, well, you've been sober for 4 months. You're not an alcoholic. And the second I took that drink after the 4 months of sobriety, that started my life as a binge drinker.
Right.
Because I couldn't stop. Because I didn't know about that deprivation effect. I didn't know that every neuron in my brain would be screaming for alcohol. And once it got it, Now it was going to just make me drink.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop now. Just more. I didn't have an off button.
Yeah.
I had no off button. So it created a binge drinker.
Yeah.
And just that naivete on my behalf. I didn't know about medications or anything at that point. So that led me into the next, I would say, next 7 years of my life were just, how long was I sober? How long was I relapsing?
Mm-hmm.
Every year was like, how many relapses did I have? I used to keep date books. And it'd be like 1 relapse that year, 2 relapses that year, 3 relapse, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, sometimes I would get 10 months of sobriety. Sometimes I would get 3 months of sobriety. Sometimes it would only be 2 weeks. Other times it would be 9 months. It was awful. Mm-hmm. My life was dictated by whether or not I was drinking. And of course, if I had a job or an audition, I'd pull it together, and I would, it didn't get to the point where I was drinking 24 hours a day. But
yeah,
by the end, by 2009, I had relapsed so spectacularly that I almost went into seizures. Yeah. And that scared the hell out of me.
I bet.
And I went into a medical detox. A friend took me there, and that's when I discovered this flyer, which led me to the medication naltrexone. And I Googled it. I ordered this book, and that all led me to find this method that nobody had ever heard of. I had never heard of it.
And no one was talking about it. So tell us a bit about, for people who don't know, what the Sinclair Method is. Sorry.
No, the Sinclair Method is it's targeted use of naltrexone. And if you're listening to this in the UK, they use naltrexone and nalmefene. And by the way, I have a sister organization called C3 Europe. So if anybody in the United Kingdom or Europe has an issue with drinking, go to C3 Europe, and there's wonderful ladies, Joanna and Moira and Mags, that can help you and navigate the NHS and so forth. But what naltrexone, what an opiate antagonist does, when you use it on a regular basis, like what they did is they prescribed it starting in 1994 for alcoholism. But what they did is they say just take it every day for cravings and don't drink. Mm-hmm. What Dr. Sinclair found out and what he discovered was that if you use an opiate antagonist in a targeted manner, meaning you take it an hour before you engage in the behavior that you want to decrease or stop. In my, so it works for gamblers too, and some other things, which we can talk about later. But for drinking, you would take it an hour before you drink. Mm-hmm. And what this does is when a normal person drinks alcohol, and especially somebody whose neural pathways are now wired to be addictive behavior, they drink alcohol, and all these endorphins release dopamine, the body's natural morphine. And that's why you want more, because your brain is flooded with this. If you drink on naltrexone, your brain releases it, but they can't bind to the opioid receptor. Mm-hmm. So what happens then is, just like Pavlov's dog, you unlearn the behavior of drinking to excess because you're not getting the same reinforcement anymore. So your brain, in other words, isn't getting that same reaction from alcohol. So eventually your brain goes, meh, just like a normal drinker when they leave a little bit in their wine glass. They're done. Yeah. There are normal people out there that say, where did I leave my drink? Well, an alcoholic always knows where their drink is. So you suddenly, the focus is no longer on the alcohol. It's on the conversation. It's on life. It's elsewhere because you're losing interest gradually. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about TSM is 90% of people with an alcohol use disorder do not seek treatment. Mm-hmm. Because the majority of the reason is that they don't think they can be sober for the rest of their life. So of that 10% who do seek treatment, only 9% of those people are offered a medication. So you can understand why people don't seek treatment, because all they know that's out there is a 12-step meeting. And they say, well, I don't want to go to a meeting and talk about being an alcoholic, and I don't want to quit drinking. Yeah. So here's the thing is that to me, that appealed back then. I'm abstinent now, but back then I thought I can't promise I'm not going to have a drink for the next 50 years. This is crazy. I mean, I like drinking. So even though it almost killed me, but back then it was important for me to have a choice, because the choice was taken away from me in AA and in rehab. It was like, it's just not a real behavior to tell somebody in their 30s or 40s can never have a drink again for the rest of your life and endure the cravings, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, without the medication, I would have been living my life as an angry, sober person for the rest. I mean, and also I would still be addicted. I was still psychologically, mentally addicted to alcohol because every decision I made was based on whether or not there would be alcohol there. It was a horrible existence. Now, I don't care about alcohol at all, so I don't drink. So it extinguishes the desire, and slowly but surely you can just get back to either being a normal drinker, or some people go sober because they just don't care about it anymore. So for me, the treatment is so much more humane. It's so much more dignified. There's no, you know, you can do it in the privacy of your own home. You don't have to go and label yourself. I'm not powerless. I think it's bullshit. I don't like saying I'm powerless, especially as a woman, to stand up and say I'm powerless against this thing. No, I'm not. There's science and medication. And it's between science and medication, I can fix this problem in my brain. And by the way, these opiate antagonists are used all the time for opiate overdose in naloxone, but also they're used now for binge eating, for drinking, for gambling, for sex addiction, for online addictions. These opiate antagonists, within the next decade, you are going to see so much more news about it, because they're being used in different ways for different compulsive disorders. And this is what alcoholism is. It's a brain disorder. Your brain changes. And I can attest to the fact that I was a normal person with a normal brain, and then suddenly the addiction crept in, and I became obsessed with alcohol, and I became compulsive about it, and I hid it, and I lied about it, and now I'm normal again. So that is that I know what it is. Not
through the whole thing.
I've been through the whole thing. It's not a moral failing. You're not a bad person. It is a disease of the brain, and there is a way to unlearn these behaviors. Thank God for these opiate antagonists.
Well, you have been incredibly vocal, as I said, and a wonderful advocate for both TSM and also your C3 Foundation now in Europe and here, which I'm happy to put links up after this, because I'm looking at the time. We've got 10 minutes.
Oh, Jesus. I know I talk a lot. I talk a lot.
No, it's great. It's wonderful.
I'm passionate about it.
That it cuts you off after an hour, and I want to just also make sure that we get some questions in. I mean, you really do continually amaze me, Claudia, because in addition to your acting career, which is really taking off again or carrying on, I was just going to say, in addition to the voice acting and everything, you are an author of not one, not two, but 8, ladies and gentlemen, 8 books. So how did writing come about? Was writing something you'd always done?
Yeah, I've been writing since I was a kid, and when I finally was published, well, the first book, Babylon Confidential, was so that I could talk about TSM and help save lives.
Book. Brilliant.
Thank you. And that was my baby, because I wanted more people to know about TSM, and that's also why I made my film One Little Pill, which is a documentary about it. Then also, this is all. Yeah, this is all stories of people who are on TSM. So I wanted that as a follow-up to Babylon Confidential.
Right.
And this one is because I love to cook, and and this is for gamers, because I do voiceovers for games. So that's why I wrote Snack Hacks.
So what is your favorite recipe from Snack Hacks? My
favorite recipe is probably my fish hacks, probably. There's actually my vinaigrette. There's great pasta recipes. I mean, this is super easy, and most importantly, I want to teach people to be comfortable in the kitchen. And even if they think they can't cook, I guarantee you they can make these quick, delicious, healthy recipes, and as quickly as you could do it by buying something in the freezer full of chemicals and sticking it in your microwave. I want people to honor their bodies, and I want them to understand it's not more expensive to cook home-cooked meals, and it's not more time-consuming.
No.
You can do it. This will give you the basis to do that. It'll give you the confidence in the kitchen. And I've been cooking my whole life. I love it. I'm passionate about it. So I like to get people, break them in the kitchen in an easy way. And it's just exciting for me when people write me on Instagram or whatever and say, look, I made your Snack Hacks pasta or this meal. And I'm like, or I'm eating fish because your sauce is so delicious for, just for the halibut sauce. That's one of my sauces.
I love just for the halibut. That's not cod humor at all.
Not at all. Put on foam. I'll be here all week. 2 drink minimum. Just me and Suanne.
Yes, exactly. We're here till Thursday.
Tip the bartender, yes.
And I think now is a perfect time too, because people are cooking more, we can't go out. So, be experimental. And if it doesn't work, so what? It doesn't matter. You learn. When I got married, I couldn't cook a thing. I nearly killed my husband feeding him raw chicken. And now, I mean, in the last few years, I've been working as a chef in our cafe. So,
Isn't that amazing?
anything is possible.
I'm definitely going to come visit that cafe next time.
I can't wait. Hopefully one day when we can open again. Guys, I'm really aware I haven't got to the questions. We've got like 5 minutes left. So I just wanted to say your career has continued to carry on spectacularly. Recent years you did 911 with the fantastic Angela Bassett. How was that experience?
I have a recurring role. I play the captain of the LAPD, and I just love it. They don't have me on all the time. I wish I was doing more episodes, but it's marvelous. Everybody's professional and great and fun, and I just love to work. And I love being in uniform. So for me, that's it's a perfect role.
And another strong woman, which I think is
another strong woman. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about Gods and Heroes for Netflix.
Gods and Heroes, and also Dota. I have voiceover. Those are both animated series coming out on Netflix this year or next year. And Dota is based on a huge game, and Gods and Heroes is amazing. I play the goddess Hera, and it is all it's just action, and the animation is beautiful, and it's the world. It's the gods and humans. It's the the plight of the gods. So it's great. Yeah, Zeus and I have some gnarly fights.
So were you Hera? All about it here first.
Yes, you heard it here.
So in the sort of 2 minutes that we have left, I'm going to quickly try and answer some questions. First one is, with TSM Awareness Day coming up on June 12th, what can we do to support it?
You can tell people to watch the free. We have a free this Saturday, the 13th. We have a free the first TSM conference online. So go to C3 Foundation. You can find the information. People can watch it, and then just support as much as we're asking for small donations, even $5, $10, just to keep us running. But most of all, spread the word. So if somebody does have a drinking problem, they will hear it from you, and they'll look into TSM. We need to spread the word about this life-saving method.
Awesome. Will there be a follow-up cookbook to Snack Hacks?
Yes, I'm thinking of a more sophisticated, slightly more difficult recipes, but not too difficult. Or also the alternative would be, which a lot of fans are voting for, a dessert book, because I love to bake. So we'll see.
Child.
I don't know which one.
We'll get you working when you come over too.
Yes, I love baking.
Purple or green?
Purple or green? Oh, green. Sorry.
I don't know what that means. Is that just the color?
It's a Drazi reference. It's one of my favorite episodes from Babylon 5. Go on, quick questions. Come on.
Right.
Here we go.
What did you love about playing Susan Ivanova?
Her humor and integrity, and my great speeches, and my zinger lines.
Do you still remember any of your zinger lines?
Boom today, always a boom. No, no boom today. Boom tomorrow, always a boom tomorrow. No, my zinger lines were very funny. I'm going to throw you. No, I can't quote it because I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We're gonna. Don't worry. Do you still see the cast from Babylon 5?
Absolutely. In fact, Pat Tallman just left, and Mira and Pat and I just did an event called The Gathering, where we did an online convention for fans, and it was a hoot. And we did two VIP things. Yeah, I see mostly Pat and Mira. Andrea Thompson moved to Mexico, but I'm friends with everybody. This is pre-cell phone days, folks, the 90s. Yeah. So we got to know each other. 25 years later, we still know and love each other. And that's what it's like. Nowadays, it's totally different. I go to a set and everyone's on their cell phone and you're talking to nobody.
Yeah. But that is absolutely a testament to the friendship. And I think to you, and I think that is a perfect, one last question, and this is for both of us. If Dottie and Captain Blowhard had gotten stuck in the lift together, what do you think would have happened? Well, I know what I would have liked to have happened.
That's right.
Well, that's a whole other show.
Little Talia Ivanova action there. No, I think Dottie and I think Blowhard and Dottie could have easily had their own ship and really probably gone on some great adventures because we worked well together.
Absolutely.
You reined in Blowhard. Definitely.
Which is not usual for me. Right, so we've got 45 seconds left, and what I wanted to say is it has been a delight and a joy. I can't wait to see you again in person, and hopefully you will come on the show again in season 2, because I just decided today there's going to be a season 2.
Woo! Yay, Suanne, bravo for you for doing this. And to all the fans out there, I love you. Thank you for all your support and for supporting C3 Foundation through the years. You guys actually made One Little Pill possible. They actually financed that documentary. And it has saved thousands. So I love you all. Suanne, I adore you. You beautiful woman. You can't wait to see you in London. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.